Stepping up to the couch, it's Brian, who led the league last season in cracked screens. But with his new athletic case, it looks like that won't be the case. Touchdown, Brian!
Before we start with the video, I need to quickly ask that you go check out the Goatmentary, which if you don't know is a 4-part docu-series that I released this week. I spent over a year on the project, so I would really appreciate it if you would check it out. But with that out of the way, Zion Williamson has to be the most hyped prospect I have seen since becoming an NBA fan. Karl Anthony Towns didn't have this type of hype. Markelle Fultz didn't have this type of hype. Anthony Bennett sure as fuck didn't. The only player that comes anywhere close to Zion's level of hype that I've seen is Andrew Wiggins, which is just kind of sad now. What the fuck, Andrew? Good lord. Anyways, I haven't seen any player get as much hype as this extremely athletic kid from North Carolina. I say kid even though I'm 7 months older than him. I'm a failure. Zion has been talked about all year, and his hype is unmatched, and while we've seen a third of the league compete for a chance to get him, and plenty have speculated where he will end up, one thing I rarely see with NBA prospects is people asking what team is the best fit for a player. Which team has the proper foundation in place to get the most of Zion and become a contender within a reasonable amount of time? So I want to look at every team that has a reasonable chance at landing Zion Williamson and determine which team is the best fit for him.
Rebound. Save. Absolutely incredibly with the acrobatic alley-oop.
Now, as you can see from the intro clip, I obviously have a dog in this race, and I'm certainly hoping for Zion to end up in a Bulls jersey. However, that doesn't mean I am incapable of being objective. I am fully aware of all of the flaws with the Chicago Bulls, and I don't think they have the best roster to put around him. It's up there, but not the best. But let's talk about what you need to build around Zion. I think best case, a perimeter star that knows how to create shots for himself and others, particularly Zion, is essential. Zion is a capable ball handler and passer, but if he ends up being the best on your team, that's a problem. Next, defense. Zion has all the potential to be a top 3 defender in the league. His athleticism, size, IQ, and motor combined make him a lethal defender. I watched him get a play versus Virginia Tech the other day where he blocked a shot where his head was at the rim. He then got into position to force the big man to pass out to a shooter, and then he contested that shot and made him miss. Ridiculous stuff. So because of that, I feel that a lot of people see that and go, well, we don't have to build as good of a defensive team around Zion because, well, Zion is so good on that end that it won't matter. And while there is potentially some truth to that, why not maximize his talents with even more defenders around him? Put more great defenders around Zion and you have an all-time great defensive team in the making. A great coach that can hopefully teach Zion how to shoot would help a lot. And finally, this probably isn't a surprise, but shooting around him is important. No shit. So those are the 4 keys for building a team around Zion. A ball handling shot creator as a secondary star, great defenders, a good coach, and good shooters. So let's talk about the teams that have a chance at Zion. We're going to keep it simple by talking about the top 10 teams in the lottery. The Lakers, Pelicans, Wizards, Grizzlies, Hawks, Mavs, Bulls, Cavs, Suns, and Knicks. So the one team that I'm going to immediately take out of this one is the Lakers. Because if the Lakers landed Zion, 1, there would be rioting on the streets, and 2, they would ship him off to New Orleans for AD. So let's talk about the Pelicans, who are next up, which is kind of tricky because this team could go in a million different directions. In the scenario where Zion is traded to them for AD, they probably don't get many other assets from LA. I think Zion for AD straight up is pretty much enough. Maybe they also get Josh Hart. In that case, the Pelicans also have another lottery pick that they can use to draft Darius Garland, then they can trade Drew Holiday for assets as well. I also think they let Julius Randle go in both scenarios, because ironically enough, Zion's floor is a more athletic Julius Randle. They both operate in similar areas on the court, and they would probably step on each other's toes a lot. So they have Garland, Zion, and Josh Hart. Garland can be the shot creator you want. Hart fits the 3-and-D parts. That's one of two scenarios for the Pels. Scenario 2 is where they get the first pick from winning the lottery, draft Zion, trade AD for let's say Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and trade Holiday for assets as well. They have Tatum as the shot creator for himself but not others, and Jaylen Brown for 3-and-D. And Alvin Gentry is a whatever coach. Can't really say what this team would look like around Zion, but the potential of Zion and Tatum is definitely fun to think about. Or, who knows, maybe AD is really weird and decides that Zion is enough help for him to stay. For the Wizards, there is the optimistic and the pessimistic view on this. How high they rank relies entirely on if John Wall can become the John Wall of old, because if he can, they would be the best case for Zion. If John Wall is a 20-and-10 guy that's also a lethal defender again, this is the perfect team for Zion, and to me, he actually could make the Wizards a contender by his second season. He fits really well with Wall and Beal, and that would be a great big three, but Scott Brooks is a terrible coach that somehow remains employed. Again, this is a team that is hard to rank because of how much variance there could be. And again, we have a team that has a lot of factors. Well, actually really one. But it can make a big difference. Whether or not Mike Conley gets traded and for what is a huge factor here. If he stays, he is a great short-term option, would be really good at setting up Zion, but being 31, he doesn't have a lot of prime years left, and besides Conley, Dillon Brooks is a good 3-and-D wing with star potential if you ask me, and Jaren Jackson alongside Zion would probably create the greatest defensive front court of all time. Jonas Valanciunas has been great in 17 games for the Grizzlies, but isn't a long-term starter over Jackson or Zion. Could be a good sixth man if he's okay with the role, and that's about it. Not a great option, but also not terrible. The defensive aspect of it is very intriguing. Luckily, all but one of the remaining teams do not require any speculation. They all have a clear direction for the future. So, next we have the Atlanta Hawks, which for me are the second best landing spot for Zion Williamson. We got Trey Young, who I, like a lot of people, was very wrong about. He fits the playmaker / shot creator role better than anyone. Trey will likely average 20 and 10 for his career. Then we have John Collins, who, to be honest, is the only reason this team isn't first. Not because he's bad, he's not, I just think him and Zion is an awkward fit. Similar to Julius Randle, both operate in similar areas on the court. I don't like John as a 5, and while Collins has shown signs as a shooter, that's never going to be his game. It could be part of it, but shooting isn't going to be something that Collins becomes known for. It's kind of like DeMarcus Cousins once he added a 3-point shot. Sure, he can shoot threes, but if that's mostly what you're asking him to do, his game is being severely limited. Kevin Huerter, however, is known for shooting, and for good reason. He would be perfect around Zion. So those two would fit perfectly alongside Zion, and Collins could still work out. As for their coach, Lloyd Pierce saw Trey Young and John Collins and decided that the Hawks should have a fast-paced offense, and he was right. He also ended up being right about giving Trey a lot of freedom offensively despite being a rookie, even though it looked shaky at the start. A coach who recognizes his personnel and uses them right is very valuable. Shout out to Mojo99 for giving me this information because, I mean, who the hell knows about Atlanta's head coach besides for Hawks fans? He's a really good NBA YouTuber that you should check out. His link will be in the description. Next, we have the team that I have first. The Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic fits the creator and scorer role. Porzingis is a lethal shooter that would be playing the 5, as well as a great defender. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Jalen Brunson are both good shooters, and Rick Carlisle is a great coach. It's the perfect fit. Imagine a Luka Zion fast break, or Zion in the post and he kicks it out to Luka for 3. And of course, Kristaps Porzingis would play off of this amazingly. Really, the difference for me between the Mavs and the Hawks has to be that Porzingis is a great shooter who's gonna be mostly shooting, while Collins is mostly an inside big man. Next, we have my Bulls, who I have as the 3rd best landing spot for Zion, and I would almost have them over the Hawks if Zion wasn't forced to play small forward on this team. Because both Lauri Markkanen and Wendell Carter Jr. should be starting on this team. Then we have Zach LaVine and Otto Porter Jr., both great shooters. Lowry is a great shooter, Wendell is a great defender, Otto Porter is a good defender, Zach is a great shot creator, and Jim Boylan is a garbage coach. Sorry if I made it seem like I was going to end on a positive. There are 2 scenarios that can happen here. One of them is Point Lavine, which isn't as bad as it sounds. Zach averaged 6 assists in the month of February when the Bulls were rolling, and he averages 4.5 for the season. He is a capable playmaker, but not ideally your best one. So more than likely, Otto becomes the backup 3, and the Bulls need a point guard. Either way, the spacing and shot creation around Zion would be really good. Also, Zion and LaVine on the fast break, that's a wet dream. For the Cavs, please don't let the Cavs get the first pick. Zion doesn't deserve that. 1, it's a terribly ran organization. 2, outside of Colin Sexton, they have no real young talent. 3, he already gets enough LeBron comparisons as is. If he was in a Cavs jersey, which are ugly by the way, those comparisons would only be more prevalent. I really hope he doesn't end up on the Cavs. For the Suns, Devin Booker is obviously a good shot creator. He needs some help as he's averaged 52 points on like 60% shooting the last 3 games, and they've lost all 3 of those games. Mikal Bridges is a great 3-and-D guy, but I feel him and Ayton would be kind of awkward, for the same reason that Randall and Collins next to Zion would be awkward. There could be a lot of stepping on toes there. They are 4th in my ranking. And finally, we have the New York Knicks, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to do some more speculation. Kyrie and or KD to New York is a real possibility, and it's likely that in either scenario, Zion is traded for Anthony Davis, and then we're back to the Pelicans thing. If he stays in New York and they don't sign Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, Dennis Smith Jr. is a decent point guard but an awful shooter. Kevin Knox is looking like he will be a really good shooter. Damian Dotson is already a great shooter, and same for Alonzo Trier, but I don't have a lot of faith in both Dennis Smith and Kevin Knox to be more than lower tier stars, like just below all-star level, and I really don't think Dennis Smith fits in a half-court offense with Zion. So my top 3 teams in order are the Mavs, the Hawks, the Bulls, and 4, the Suns. So in conclusion, please don't let the Cavs get the first pick. Anyways, please check out the Goatmentary like I said, link will be in the description. Subscribe to Mojo like I said earlier, and that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.